Hello there, and welcome to your GG Replay for Monday, August 23rd, 2021. GG Replay is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show where we break down the latest in gaming news, hosted by us, the Goodnight Groofs, a place for games and a place for goofs. Still workshopping the slogan. I am Paul, and I am joined, as always, by Matt. We are working our way through August today, Matt. We're almost there. We're entering the last week and a week or so, week and a half. How are you doing on this Monday?
Yeah, it definitely is still August, and I was reminded by the freaking heat
Oh,
today.
it is so hot where I am. Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm excited for August to end so that can start to subside a little bit.
100%.
But yeah, other than that, other than melting, I'm doing fine.
Yeah,
How about you,
I
Paul? Are you
I
doing
love
all
that.
right?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm staying inside. I have the AC cranked. I'm having a nice time. I just did the conversion with the humidity today. It's somewhere around like 93, something like that, which is
Okay,
it's
that's
pretty
very
hot.
hot. That's really
That's
hot. Yeah,
pretty hot.
that's about
Yeah.
what it
So
was here as well today.
yeah, and even without the humidity, I think it's like in 90 or something. But yeah, it's pretty hot. It's actually not that humid. Like it's only like 50% humidity, which sounds really bad, but like we've had 78% plus the last week or so. So you can actually kind of breathe a little bit of the air without choking on the liquid in your throat. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm definitely having some good time staying inside playing games, not trying to go outside too much right now.
Agreed.
Agreed. Yeah, just moving on. We're going to get into the show in just 1 second. But before we do, just want to announce that we will have our first ever GG Replay live for Gamescom 2021 opening night live on Wednesday, August 25th. That's this Wednesday. That is 2 days from now.
So this is your
Uh,
last reminder.
this is your last reminder. You will probably, yeah, by the time the next GG Replay comes out, we will probably be reacting to stuff we saw on Gamescom
Yeah.
and our live stream. Come and watch and react to the show with us. Our pre-show starts at 1:15 p.m. Eastern time, so their pre-show starts at 1:30. Ours is starting at 1:15, so we'll be there a little bit early, speculating and chatting. You can head on over to twitch.tv/goodnightgroofs. The link is on our website as well, goodnightgroofs.com. Make sure maybe before then, you might just want to hop on there, follow our Twitch channel so that you can make sure you get an alert when we go live. So that way you will not miss it for sure. Always good to go ahead and get that done ahead of time. And the VOD will be uploaded to YouTube after the show. So if for some reason, like, 99% of people working during that time, potentially, we are taking some time out to not do that. Or, you're trying to watch it at work, but your boss comes in and sees it on your screen. You have to like quickly, frantically change screens. There will be a VOD later, so you can watch that. I don't know. Are we gonna put that out as our main replay show that day? Or are we gonna do a separate show? Probably a separate thing after, I guess, right?
Yeah, we'll do a separate thing. I don't think the VOD is going on any audio formats, so that
Right.
will only be on YouTube.
Cool.
And we
Awesome.
might break it up into different segments based on how the show goes. So we'll see.
Cool. Awesome. We love to see it. Also, just to remind you, if you come across any necessary corrections in today's episode, please send them to ggreplayshow@gmail.com or head down to the YouTube comments below so we can address them in the next episode. All right, Matt, it's time. The reviews are in. We have a lot of games that have been reviewed this week. We're not reviewing anything. We're
We're not.
doing no work. I
Yeah.
want it to be clear, but we're talking about games that have been widely reviewed by critics. You have to have at least six plus reviews on Open Critic to include in the show. So we're starting off, starting best. Well, potentially best, but one of the higher scores right here. Psychonauts 2. I think a lot of us have been waiting for this for months. Some people have been waiting for this for decades. Got an 89 on Open Critic. People I feel are so I can't express how great this must feel to people who have been wanting this for so long to see
Yeah.
it got 89 just a couple days before it came out. Like you now know, bar none, this is going to be exactly the experience you're looking for. It's out on Wednesday. I was watching some early reviews. I don't want to spoil anything, but I don't think it's like a huge spoiler to say you're going into people's minds
Right. Yeah.
and things like that. It's the main level design. And it just seems so incredible. It reminds me a lot of What Remains of Edith Finch, but like obviously more gameplay.
Oh,
But like the
okay.
idea that every character you're exploring different characters' minds,
Yeah, I see
and in
that.
that you're kind of like they all have their own themes that kind of dictate their lives, and you're exploring those in different ways. Such a creative, interesting way to go with level design, and I think a lot of people were expecting Psychonauts 2 to have great level design because the first did as well. Amazing to see that they did it.
Yeah, I am now excited for this game. I really was keeping like expectations in check, keeping hype levels in check. But now that I'm seeing some people, I think ACG said it was like one of the best games of the last decade or something like that. I love 3D platformers, so
Yep.
I am now officially hype for this. And as far as where I'll play it, I guess I'll be playing the PlayStation 4 version on PS5 because there won't be a PS5 version. I
Okay.
assume that they had some sort of prior deal where they have to release the PS4 version, but that was before PS5. So
Yep.
now
Yep.
that
Yep.
it's going to be weird to see Xbox publishing logo when I'm loading up a PlayStation game. That's going to be a little bit strange.
Like, are
But
we going to see that too on Deathloop? Is that
yeah, I
also
guess
a thing? Yeah,
so.
right. Like,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
Ghostwire
potentially,
Tokyo. Yeah, so
right?
that'll be kind of weird, but I kind of am excited to see that weirdness. I don't know. It'll
Yeah,
be
it's
a
interesting.
weird clashing of worlds. But yeah, I'm now very hype this game.
Question: Will you be playing the original beforehand? Are you going to try to get around to that, or?
I don't think so because from what I'm reading, you don't have to. As far as
Yeah,
the story
me
goes,
too.
I've read something about a video that you get to watch before the game that kind of explains the
Perfect.
story, which I think the story is actually kind of complex too.
Yeah,
So
it does
that
look like it is.
so maybe the video is even good for people who did play the original, just get a refresher.
Yeah, for sure. Makes total sense. Moving on to some other games, talking about aliens. We've had a million different franchises trying to ape the feel of the Xenomorphs and aliens. Here we have Aliens Fireteam Elite. Got a 72 on OpenCritic. Commendable score. It's a third-person co-op shooter. Kind of looks like a horde. There's like a horde mode kind of vibe to it, but it is a campaign, about a 10-hour campaign. What I'm hearing, it's out tomorrow. What I've been kind of seeing from reviews is that the story is nothing to write home about. It's not specifically engaging, but that being said, the gameplay is pretty rock solid if you're interested in playing a game where you hunt xenomorph aliens coming at you in a horde. Sounds pretty cool to me. I think anyone who's like an Alien fan, a Ridley Scott Alien fan, will enjoy this title.
So I assume this is somewhat similar to the Rainbow Six Extraction game that's coming out, formerly known as
Mm.
Quarantine.
That's an unfortunate name.
Yeah, yeah. This they went about and changed that one pretty
Yeah.
quick. So I guess I would wait for that one because this doesn't look. I am so uninterested in this game.
You're not a big Alien fan, though, are you? I mean, you played Isolation, right? You played a bit of that. I played a bit of that, right? Didn't
You
you?
know, I haven't yet. I've
I thought you
owned the
did.
game. I
Okay.
was
Yeah.
going to. I was going to play it on stream. And then
So terrifying.
I saw that the game was kind of long actually, so I was saving it, and I'll eventually get to it. But I feel like Alien Isolation is the only really good Alien game that's come out in a very, very long time.
There's hit or miss. It's been a very, very long time. I think I remember some Alien versus Predator games that came out like 20 years ago that were kind of fun. But yeah, nothing huge to write home about. I think it's been kind of a weird franchise that there is a lot of potential for games, but
I think it's very clear that when you're trying to do action shooter games for the Alien franchise, it just doesn't work. You need that suspense, which is what
I
Alien
think that's
Isolation does.
exactly. Isolation, that idea it's one versus you versus one xenomorph, and just how giant and terrifying and big it is in that spaceship and that's in that space is so frightening and really works to that advantage. And I think to be fair, a lot of people didn't like the later Alien installment movies as much because there were just a million aliens and they were like getting mowed down and it wasn't exactly the same kind of
Right.
feeling. So I think there are definitely tons of people who would want to play this. If you're interested in this kind of shooter, it looks like a fun kind of, way to get into it. But there's also a lot of other games like this. So unless you have exhausted all of those, then it doesn't seem like a lot of critics are recommending it.
Also kind of strange that the co-op teams are 3 people
I,
instead
I
of 4.
yeah, I like that. It's always weird to see different co-op configurations like that. I guess because we don't have the 4 ports, it's a little different. Like, games, I mean, why do they have to be 4, right? They
Right.
don't necessarily anymore. So it's funny to see things like this or Apex Legends or things that are built around threes is interesting.
Curious to see like how that decision is made and why it's
Mm,
made.
for sure. Or the decision to just scrap co-op campaign because it's too you're too delayed.
Right.
Uh, all right, moving on. King's Bounty 2. Got a 67 on OpenCritic. The turn-based tactical RPG. It's out tomorrow. It looks pretty interesting. I think there's a lot of people who are interested in this kind of game. It has an overworld mode that kind of feels like Skyrim. Sort
Yeah.
of. You're running around talking to different people. There's like a witchery Skyrim kind of feel. It looks pretty like visually. It looks kind of awful. Um, and then switching between that and like an overworld or not overworld, pardon me, but like like an over the top tactical RPG turn based. To me, it's not for me. This
Right.
is a game that looks like the kind of I think there's a lot of genres like this that still exist that are kind of harken back to when you couldn't make games that ran the way we want to now. You couldn't make Skyrim or Witcher. You couldn't make these open world action RPGs. And so then there's people who are such fans of this tactical genre that had to come out by necessity. And then here it is. And like there's huge fans who will want to play this kind of thing. But even for that, doesn't seem like it has like the best reviews.
Yeah. Pass. Not interested.
Mm-hmm. And we have Hua, which is a puzzle platformer. Got 72 on OpenCritic. This is also out tomorrow. Ton of stuff out tomorrow. This game looks very interesting. It basically looks like to me like someone took the idea of like Ori and the Blind Forest, that kind of vibe
Yeah.
of a game,
Yeah.
and then painted it with a Studio Ghibli brush.
Yeah.
It looks
Totally.
like Studio Ghibli. It looks gorgeous, super smooth, fluid. It has very memorable, lovable characters. Every character seems to have, and like object and monster you see seems to have their own kind of little personality. But main complaints I've seen is that it does not. It's a little too simplistic. It does seem like it's aimed at kids a little bit, or aimed at a younger audience that hasn't played games with more depth. Something like Ori, or maybe like a Metroidvania, maybe like something like that, like a Hollow Knight. People who haven't played games like that might have more interest in something like this.
Yeah, I think you start to run into a situation where when you're making a game like this that is so artistic and artful, you start to run into a situation where you take gameplay out of it because you don't want to overload it with gameplay. You want the art
Mm,
to be the focus, and then it ends up being too simplistic.
yeah.
Instead of, go the journey route where they did something very different. Your game
Hmm.
doesn't have to just be this simple platformer. Take this awesome art, take this awesome story and this really cool aesthetic that you've got and adapt it into something new. Like
Yeah.
you can't just slap it into a platformer that is a limited version of a platformer and think that
Yeah.
the art's just going to carry it, because it's
Yeah.
great, it helps, but it can't just carry a game when platformers are so big on gameplay, you know?
Yeah, and when you see a game like Ori doing this exact thing, this
Yeah.
gorgeous, gorgeous art style, that's got a very kind of the story is simple but effective, and then there's also really enticing gameplay. Not necessarily like super combat heavy, but movement heavy and fluid, and there is a bit of a difficulty curve to it, but nothing like insurmountable. You can do it, and so I feel like that's maybe where it lost some points because we've seen games able to do that.
But it does look
Uh,
really pretty. It
Looks
does.
gorgeous. Looks gorgeous. I think definitely worth a shot if you're into this kind of thing. It doesn't seem like it's a very long experience, so definitely worth checking out. Moving on to something that we were talking about a little bit on Friday. It hadn't exactly come out yet, but it is out now. Well, actually, it did come out, but we didn't have reviews yet. Quake 2021 Remaster got a 96 on OpenCritic. That is out now. It is Quake. It is Quake, but it is remastered. Matt, you actually got a chance to get in and play a little bit of this game. Do you have anything you want to share with your experience playing some Quake Remastered?
I did. I want to share those thoughts for Game Groofs this week, but
100%, 100%.
I very short time in there, but I enjoyed it.
Yep.
This is a weird situation. Like, how do you review this game? Like,
Right.
do you review it like you can't just go back to the original Quake and say, "Well, I'm going to review it like the original Quake," because it's not anymore. You also can't
Yeah.
just go back to that mindset. You can't review it compared to games today. So I don't know how you review something like this. I'm really not sure. I guess you can compare it to other retro Quake and Doom likes that have been coming out. Like this sort of style of game has been, there's been a resurgence to this in the last couple years. So I guess
Definitely.
compared to those, I don't know. Like I just really don't know how you review this sort of product.
Do you review it based on how well they remastered it or how fun it is to
Yeah,
play a remastered version? It's really tough. You're right. It's very interesting to review this
because it's the
and what the
same
merits are.
game
Mhm.
25 years later that just looks a little bit nicer. It's
Yeah.
just not as fuzzy. It's sharper, but it's the same
It's
thing.
not as fuzzy. That's it. It's sharper in its blockiness.
Yeah, I
So
don't know.
yeah.
I don't know how you review it, but it's,
Yeah.
I think I said on the last replay that I just felt like I owed it to gaming to give it a shot
Yeah.
and to at least jump in. And it's like a gig, and it's free on Game Pass. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did. I jumped in, played a little bit of multiplayer, and I'll talk about it on Game Groofs this week.
Perfect. Little teaser heading up for Game Grooves, our all encompassing gaming podcast coming out this Sunday. Moving into the top stories of the day. First story of the day. Speaking of games, Matt, that you owe it to gaming to give a shot to, Hades. Hades, we talk a lot about it on the Grooves, especially since I've finally gotten a chance to play it. It has become the highest rated game of all time on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X of all time, Matt.
All time.
And just a reminder, how far is all time in those two consoles? It's
9
November of
months.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9 months, and you could probably only really readily get them in the last like 6 months. So there's that.
Right.
It's great. It's great to see. This is a much lauded indie game. It's great to see it get even more popular, get even more great stuff. It's great for Supergiant. They have been, an indie darling for a very long time. They've been a bit under the radar. It's one of those things people say, you got to try playing Bastion. You got to try playing, all these different games. So it's awesome to see, them finally have a hit that just totally knocks it out of the park. I'm having a great time with Hades. I just played like 3 hours of Hades before we started recording.
Nice.
I'm finally about to clear for the first time, which is exciting. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool to see. But yeah, it's funny to see an article like this. I think there was a lot of, memery approaching this, kind of going like, okay, of all time, when is that a worthwhile title to give to something? The highest rated game of all time on a certain console series. When does that seem like that'll be a worthwhile thing to say?
Right.
I guess it's always going to be, right. You just have to take it in context by how many games have come out. But
Yeah, it makes a nice headline, but yeah, I don't really know how much weight that it carries. We all knew Hades was good. Like,
yeah,
this is not a shock.
yeah,
This isn't a surprise. Funny enough, you mentioned the Supergiant as a part of this, and I think
mhm.
the game of theirs that I'm probably most interested in trying that I haven't is Pyre. So,
Yep. Okay.
because it's like a basketball-y type of game. So,
Right. I don't think I'm familiar with that one super well.
yeah, I'm
Well, I'll
actually
check
kind
it
of
out.
interested in that. I might have to give that a shot at some time. But yeah, I will give Hades a try on
You should.
PS5 at some point.
A
I
lot of
will.
fun.
I would love to see Hades become a PS Plus game at some point.
Be great.
Maybe
Free
in
on Game
4
Pass.
months or
Be great.
something.
Be great to see on PS Plus or PS Now. Be cool to see. Yeah, Pyre looks cool, by the way. It looks like the characters from Hades playing virtual basketball.
Yeah,
I
pretty
see that.
much.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. Continuing on the trend of games that we, deserve to give a shot. Famous games here. We got another one here that people love to talk about all the time. Simpsons Hit and Run. There was just yesterday or the day before people talking about someone saying they have somehow got a leaked acquisition of the source code. Let's work on the game. People were saying this is a dubious thing. Well, the source code for The Simpsons Hit and Run has supposedly leaked now. We have more info than ever before. We had a designer show off a game they recreated in a modern engine. It looks incredible. It looks like
Oh, I
the
haven't seen that
game.
video yet.
You should check it out. It's really cool. I'll link it to you. But it looks like I don't know, like on Unreal Engine 4 or something like that. It looks
Interesting.
really, really good. Super cartoony, super clean, and they took all the sound files from the original game,
Nice.
tossed them in there, and yeah, the original game director for the game. It's actually the top pinned comment on the YouTube video saying like, "Hey, I'm the original director for this game, the designer for this game. I love what you're doing. You've like done such a great job bringing this to life. Like,
Wow.
I wish I could like, I wish, I'm not involved with being able to like do this, but I wish we could bring this game back. Really, really, really cool to see that. So are we going to see an unofficial remaster that gets, kind of let to do its thing, or are we going to see maybe that get shut down in favor of, now that we see that there's so much popularity, maybe we'll see an official remaster? I think that was part of what the designer was saying, is it's really hard to imagine doing an official remaster because the Simpsons game rights are apparently split up amongst so many different companies now. It's like a huge mess apparently, in order to properly kind of sanction a game.
Okay.
So I don't know. I have to see, but it looks really cool. Yeah, Matt, do you have any good memories of Simpsons Hit and Run?
I loved this game. I loved this game back in the day. I would love a remaster or a remake. Absolutely. Honestly, the game holds up insanely well for being from 2003, Paul. It's almost 20 years old. If you go watch videos of it now, you'll see it actually holds up really, really well. And I think a remaster would be fantastic. I think it would work. A la, this is more of a remake, but the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom game.
I think a remake like that would be,
you know?
Yeah. And I think it's interesting. Yeah, people, especially at that time, there were so many people going, "Oh, GTA clone. Everything's a GTA clone." Blah blah blah. Everyone's trying to. This was a very successful GTA clone that really was able to kind of make their own mark on the genre, and are still remembered fondly to this day as being like kind of one of the better games to come out of that GTA clone era.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to see. So love that. I actually have a memory of playing Simpsons Hit and Run, or rather not playing it. I really, really, really wanted to play this game. I rented it from our local Blockbuster when I was a kid, and someone had switched the discs in the box, and I ended up renting Ace Combat 2 or some shit.
Oh, Jesus.
And I didn't get to play Simpsons Hit and Run. It was like a very complicated flight combat game, and I was like, I don't know, 10 or something. I was really disappointed. So that's the story of that.
The dev team behind it doesn't exist. It was Radical Entertainment, which they were Canadian, Paul, in Vancouver.
Love that.
They were part of Activision. They ended up going on to develop Prototype and Prototype 2. They helped a little bit on Destiny, and that's kind of the last that they did. And then it was published by Vivendi, so I guess Activision Blizzard probably owns the publishing rights to this game now.
I don't know though, because they bought Blizzard out from Vivendi, I think, totally, like at the end. So I'm not sure if they bought Vivendi or rather
Vivendi
they bought
merged. They did end up merge. They merged with Activision, which created Activision Blizzard.
No, I know that, but I remember reading an article, not to like get into a whole thing, but I remember reading an article very recently saying that like they had still owned a controlling share in Blizzard at that point, but at some point they had to finish buying it from Vivendi in like 2010 or something.
Okay.
That I'm not 100% sure, but I'm wondering if the rights are somewhat mixed up from that. I'm not sure.
I'm reading right now. Vivendi Games properties many of the properties were later dropped by Activision, so maybe they just like didn't keep the licensing. I don't know. I would imagine that Activision owns the publishing rights to Simpsons Hit and Run as like a re-release. They'd probably have to purchase the license again to be able to remaster or remake. And, if they wanted to do that, they've got Toys for Bob, which I guess is now part of Blizzard. I don't know how it's working, but
who knows?
Toys for Bob, they can do some good remakes.
Yeah, love to see it. Be awesome. Speaking of people making their own games, making their own source content, we have here head writer Stephanie Zacharides. I'm bad at Greek names. Departs Fallout London team to join Bethesda Game Studios as associate quest designer. So, this is not the first time we've seen community members been poached by developers. We've seen Blizzard did it a lot, actually, speaking of them. Especially in the early days of World of Warcraft. We've seen, we've seen a lot of story games do that as well. Less so for design like this, though, but I think this is a really interesting story, if only because, obviously it's an interesting story for those who are interested in following Fallout London. But let's be honest, a lot of these like large scale Fallout mods rarely come to fruition.
Right.
I am still like on a casting list every once in a while, a voice casting list for Fallout Miami that I signed up for like 7 years ago, and they still are like looking for voices here and there for like random characters, and it's like, okay, so you're still not done, right? Like this is still not anywhere close. So not to like, shit on people trying to make this stuff, but it's very, very difficult. You're basically making a full game in someone else's engine. It's very difficult and for free. But yeah, it's pretty awesome to see this specific acquisition. Obviously, probably not specifically for Fallout at this point, since we have Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, probably before we're going to see any major Fallout development anytime in the next like decade. But it is cool because I've seen a major pain point for Bethesda fans in the last decade has been, the story is pretty cool and the worlds are amazing and realized, but quest design is pretty simplistic. There's a lot of like kill this many of this and go fetch my son from the dungeon, and not a lot of super detailed quest design, barring a few specific areas and DLC and things like that. So it's cool to see them maybe seeing the best in their community, making the kind of games that the fans want, something like Fallout London, and then poaching that for quest design.
What if Starfield is a Fallout game?
So you're assuming in-universe Fallout, but in the future, maybe? Well, I guess Fallout's in the future anyway. But okay,
crazy idea, but it's probably not like 99%. So cool. But it's just like you said, another Fallout game is probably a ways down the line, unless they're just gonna want this Stephanie Zachariadis. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Unless they want her to write for Fallout 76, which is honestly probably what they're going to have her do.
Maybe, yeah. I'm wondering how much Fallout 76 content, especially like quest content, they're really going to come out with going forward, especially now they're working on, Skyrim and Starfield.
It's probably not a very big team that's working on Fallout 76. At least the design team is probably not that big at this point. So I could see them just seeing someone who worked on Fallout London and plucking them and saying, all right, work on Fallout 76.
You're the custodian of quests for 76 here.
Yeah. Clean this up. Clean this mess up.
Clean this up, and we'll see where you're gonna fit into the next one. see how good you do here. Maybe it's very possible. I really like the idea of Starfield as a Fallout game. I don't think it's at all possible, really, but I do like it because so many people were picking out a lot of aesthetic that looked like Fallout in the technology and the way that a lot of the looks of the gates and the hatches and things looked. So
that's sort of what I was thinking when I said that, but then it goes back to, Todd Howard specifically called it NASA punk as far as the style goes, and I see where that's coming in, and it's not really Fallout. It really does fall in line with the whole NASA punk idea.
And they're big on saying, new IP, totally fresh IP.
True.
I mean, obviously it could be a throw off, but I don't think that's really their jam. I think they'd milk it if it were it were remotely Fallout by now. All right. But cool to see. Good to see people who are involved in the community kind of get in there. Just a reminder before we continue on with the show, I just want to remind everyone listening at home that this podcast is fueled by your likes and your thumbs ups and your subscriptions. If you could take a moment here, just, if you're driving, obviously pull over to the side of the road, please, but you should do it. You should do it if it's safe to do so. And just give our podcast a 5-star review or a thumbs up, or give us a little rating or review on whatever podcast app you're listening to, or on YouTube. That's fine too. If you're watching us on your Tesla screen while you're charging at a fast charge station, that's fine too. Go ahead and do that. We would really, really appreciate it because it does help us to get better and to move forward with even better content for y'all at home. Yeah. Moving on to our last couple stories of the day. Right here, Black Myth Wukong. Now, I don't know if you saw this, Matt, this video. Yeah. You did. Mm-hmm. They released a 15-minute Unreal Engine 5 gameplay trailer. I'll just say right off the bat, this looks fucking wild. It's a Souls-like game. That's inspired by the story Journey to the West, which was written in the Ming Dynasty in the 1600s. Also the same kind of story that inspired Dragon Ball Z. Goku is inspired by Wukong, and Wukong has been used in many other franchises, League of Legends and Dota and other things like that. So yeah, it looks pretty amazing. I mean, we can go on and on about all the ways it's so faithful to the story and the little Easter eggs. But let's be honest, this looks wild. Now they say at the beginning, the trailer does not represent final gameplay or visuals, but it looks believable. It looks like something they could actually make with the technology that we have now. It doesn't look like something out of the realm of possibility for 2021, but it does look truly next gen. The knee-deep snow fighting where you fall over and the enemies fall and the snow moves with you as you leap and trudge through. I mean, Matt, what stood out to you in this trailer? Everything stood out to me. I'm in love with it.
I don't believe in this game for a goddamn second.
Don't even do this. Don't even do this to me. This is the promised land. I am not a Souls-like gamer, but I will play a Souls-like to play this game.
I'm sorry, this sort of thing doesn't just happen. You don't just get a game. This is way too good to be true. This is not what it seems. We are being sold a lie. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Why? What is the basis for this? I need a step by step. What is your background on this here?
I mean, why should we trust them? They've not developed any other games. There's no history here. You don't just come out with this amazing thing that is blowing everyone away and have it actually work like it's supposed to. I don't think the game is actually going to look this good. Maybe it does, but if it does, then is it going to be able to run on anything? I don't know. I just don't believe in this, Paul. I don't believe that this game is going to be what we're being sold at all.
Yeah. I mean, we look at this game developer, Chinese indie developer, Game Science. Right off the bat, we see indie developer, which throws up red flags, I will say. Game Science has developed no other games. They have no pedigree. Their team is pretty unknown. Yeah, I agree with you that it is out of nowhere. And it is as gameplay and real as it looks. It would be very possible to render and make something like this in Unreal 5 in a non-playable state. I get it.
I will say it's very the whole thing about it is strange because first off, like there aren't a lot of Chinese developed games that go to the West. It just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
And when
Agreed.
and when it does, like there aren't really console games because consoles aren't really a thing in the Chinese market. They're just not big there. It's all PC stuff and mobile. So and this Black Myth Wukong is supposed to be a console game. It will be PC as well. So the whole thing just seems really weird to me. Something about this is off and I just cannot trust it at all. And I think people are obviously the gameplay in the video, the supposed gameplay.
It looks very much great. Like gameplay though. It looks believably, there are some spots that are a little funky, but it does look like it would have been easier to make it as a gameplay, like to use in gameplay,
right,
than pre-rendering it to make it look so much like, you know what I mean?
But you know what also looked amazing and had a ton of money behind it? Cyberpunk, Watch Dogs. Like,
yeah, this doesn't even have a ton of money behind it necessarily. So maybe that's
what I'm saying.
But maybe that's a good thing because it doesn't have all the crunch and the expectation. I don't know.
You're gonna tell me that a Chinese development company doesn't have crunch? Okay.
The 16-hour workday.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want it to be real as a Dragon Ball fan, would like to see some more serious gameplay like that. I love the extending pole, like the lightning's hitting the ground from this like realistic, beautiful Chinese dragon. The lightning, he like stands at the pole and then flips the pole and the dragon. Insanity. The way that the dodging works with like the shadow of you're so on like magic. It just looks so cool. It really reminds me. I mean, it's like this feeling of Hades, right? You're going through this world. You're trying to reach the gods. You're going through these like different enemies. It's but like Dark Souls, but an Eastern inspiration. I want it to be real because this is a game that I would fall absolutely in love with. Weirdly, from a genre that I wouldn't normally play, but the world building is so cool to me. You're probably right. If we do see this game, it's probably going to be like 5 years from now, maybe, and worse than what we're seeing now. We'll probably have other games that are like this long before we might even get this. But I want to believe. I'm putting my heart out there. I have the hype, and I can't come down from the hype tower.
Something about it is just not going to work. It's going to be there's going to be some weird monetization or something, or I don't know, Paul. Like, or the translation's not gonna work out well. But there's gonna be something that just doesn't work. There's no way. I just cannot believe that this game is going to work in the way that people are expecting and hoping. It's too good to be true. There's too much mystery and unknown.
We don't even
surrounding
know
it.
who the publisher is. We know
Yeah.
really nothing. Yeah. But I want to believe.
You can believe. You can believe. You
will.
can hope. I
will.
if I see if this actually shows up on consoles someday, I will. If this even actually shows up on consoles, like if it's a listed game that you can buy, I'll be shocked in the West.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm gonna get my Eastern copy shipped here. I'm so ready.
Go for it.
I'm ready. Just like I'm sick of this like medieval Dark Souls looking thing. Let's get a little bit weird with it. These Eastern inspiration.
No, I love it. Like the idea of,
you know what?
The journey
if
to the West.
Software just wants to do this, that's fine.
Let them take it seriously.
Give it to From Software. Let them make it. It basically looks like that anyway. Just let them do it with this. They could make this game and it would be awesome. I don't even need the snow to be that knee deep. It's not even about the graphics. The graphics are cool, but it's the story.
I do think there's a weird conflict of interest there. Maybe a Japanese developer doing a Chinese
probably.
Myth. I don't know if there's probably something strange there.
All right. Well, let's move on to something that is also extremely far off, but also, probably going to happen, maybe. Much more likely. Techland has started development on a new AAA open world RPG. Techland, of course, is the developer of Dying Light, Dead Island, and Call of Juarez series of games. And we do have Dying Light 2 coming out this December, which looks mighty good, I will say. As someone who's not a crazy, it wasn't like a crazy Dying Light fan, it looks pretty cool.
It does look cool.
This is exciting. I mean, Matt, have you played many of their games before, followed Techland? I will say this is a developer I have not really kept closely attuned to myself.
I have played Dead Island. I think it was a free game on Xbox at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not.
It was Games with Gold at some point, I think.
And I clearly don't remember it well enough. But I do think there were people that liked that game, obviously. And Dying Light has a fan base that likes it and is really excited about Dying Light 2. Call of Juarez, don't really know much about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. A new AAA open world RPG is always intriguing to me, Paul.
It's your kind of thing. So
it could be anything. I don't know if it's going to be like a zombie game. Is it going to be?
I feel like maybe I would be interested in a zombie. I mean, I know they've done there's been some AAA open world sort of zombie games, but it'd be really cool to see someone lean into that. Make I guess like Fallout kind of has a lot of zombie-esqueness to it, but it'd be cool to see something like a Fallout or a Skyrim or a Witcher 3 that's like a zombie apocalypse modern game would be pretty crazy. I feel like Days Gone, I feel like that wasn't like an open world thing, right? Like not to the degree. Not to the degree of those games though, I feel like, right? It was like more of a stream. I don't know.
It's open world.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. World. Included this in the notes because AAA open world RPG is always interesting, but at the same time, Techland, it's kind of a prove it situation.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Let's see. Be interesting to follow that over the next few years if we're still here kicking. All right. I'm making maybe it's a zombie reference I'm making. I don't know.
Okay.
Moving on. Final story of the day. Minecraft Dungeons is on Steam. It is not quite on Steam yet, but we do have a Steam page. It will be on Steam very soon, I think in the next few weeks. Of course, Minecraft Dungeons is an isometric dungeon crawler game set in the Minecraft universe. I saw someone describe the systems as shallow as a puddle, deep as a puddle, rather. I agree. I played a decent chunk of hours in it, and I wouldn't say decent, but I probably played like 10 hours into it when I first found it, just because it was kind of addictive and cute and just kind of like a fun thing to pass some time one day. But it certainly didn't have me coming back to it. Of course, there's so many really, really, really good games in this. You have like Grim Dawn and Path of Exile and things like that. They're obviously much more mature.
This is like baby's first isometric RPG.
It is. It is exactly that. A lot of people I saw who said they had a good time playing it, said that because their kid likes it and they'll play it with their kid, and it's like not a bad game to play. So, it's exciting. It's cool. The big story here is that Microsoft is putting a Microsoft Store exclusive game that has always kind of been a Microsoft Store thing on Steam, which is kind of interesting. And it begs the question, will we see Minecraft proper on Steam? Matt, what do you think? Do you think this might be the harbinger of Microsoft putting Minecraft on Steam?
I think so. I don't see why they wouldn't put Minecraft on Steam. They I guess just because it still sells so much that they don't
That
need to.
that's kind of my thought, is that I don't know if they need to, because it's such a huge seller.
But I think if they put it on Steam, they're going to sell copies to people who already own it. So like people will rebuy Minecraft just to
Just to
have it
have it
on
on
Steam.
Steam and have it part of their Steam library. I
So
agree.
I think that would be a smart move. I mean, they put Microsoft Flight Simulator on Steam.
Mhm.
So I guess they're starting to put their games on Steam, right? I mean, it would make sense, but yeah, the reason why it's not on there, I assume, is because they sell it so well, they don't
Yeah.
need to allow Valve to take the cut.
There's a
But
ton of people who will just go to the Microsoft Store or download the Microsoft Store app or whatever to be able to play Minecraft. It's such a huge game that is not a hurdle. It's not enough of a hurdle to stop people from buying it right now.
maybe they're seeing statistics where it hasn't slowed down enough, but at a certain point, maybe they will put it up there when they know that it'll sell. People will buy it a second time, So
Yeah.
I think eventually it'll be on Steam.
Yeah, I mean, we see good guy Phil Schiller, or Phil Schiller. What am I talking about? Apple. They're very close. No, we're not talking about Apple. We're talking about Microsoft. Good guy Phil Spencer out here, always kind of making these deals, and very clearly being like, hey, our games will be on a lot of different platforms, and we're very open to working with other people and doing crossplay. So, it makes sense to me that they would play with Steam and see how that works. This seems like it might be kind of them dipping their toe in and seeing if it's worthwhile to put these properties on Steam and to see if it makes sense monetarily or makes sense in the community. I think they're already getting goodwill for putting this kind of stuff on Steam, because a lot of people see Steam as the de facto store for PC gaming. So yeah, we'll have to see if this makes sense. I think if it does well on Steam and we get enough good PR from it, then Minecraft probably end up there sooner or later. Maybe like we've talked about before, will we see Game Pass on Steam? Sooner or
Maybe.
later, very possible. I think in this Phil Spencer Xbox world, it's all up in the air. Anything's possible.
I think I would actually buy a Minecraft again if it were on Steam.
Same.
I don't even know how to. I don't even know how to access my copy of Minecraft right now.
Yep.
I don't even know where I would find it.
Yep. I was able to play on browser, I think, recently in Java or something. But it didn't have all the right. This is by recently, I mean, like in the last year or two. I don't know. I know you can download it on the Microsoft app and the games section, or the Xbox app. Yeah, I agree with you. And it's weird because I bought a copy from Mojang like years ago
I have a
before the acquisition.
Mojang account.
And I know my Mojang account does allow me to download it. I'm pretty sure on the Xbox. I have gone through this before, but it's weird. I agree. It's strange. And I probably would also do that. It's the same thing with Guild Wars 2, where it's really annoying for me to try to play Guild Wars 2 through my Guild Wars 2 account. I'd rather just play it on Steam or like have it on.
Right.
I'd rather have any of this stuff on Steam. There's a lot of old games that just had their own launchers that it's annoying now. And this is the same thing. I'll use Game Pass on my computer, but I don't know how I like connect my Mojang account to my Xbox Live account. I'm not sure. I'm sure I've already done it at some point, but I agree with you. It's a bit of a hurdle.
Guild Wars 2 is supposed to come to Steam at some point.
Very soon, I think. They've been teasing it for a while. So
yeah, it
maybe
doesn't
End
have
of
a
Dragons.
release date, but
No.
it has a Steam page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably
So
for the expansion.
maybe for the final major expansion here we have. All right. Well, you know what, Matt? That is going to be it for GG Replay for today. Just to remind everyone, like I already said, we really appreciate reviews, ratings, 5 stars, and thumbs ups. But also, just a reminder that we do have a full website, goodnightgroofs.com, where we have our blogs and our videos and our podcasts and all the links to our socials. Really important to check that out. And also the link to our Twitch. So if you do want to make sure you're there for the opening night live stream starting at 1:15 p.m. on Wednesday, then make sure to go there as soon as possible and follow our Twitch page so you get an update when we go live on Wednesday. Also, reminder, another thing too, if you're feeling super generous, if you do go over to our website and you do like the content we're providing, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/goodnightgroofs. We have a $1, $3, and $5 tier, and the $3 tier does get you early access to our all-encompassing gaming podcast, Game Groofs, which comes out on Sundays, but for our patrons comes out on Friday, which is pretty cool. You can listen to it heading into the weekend as opposed to all those Sunday scaries. But both are good. But I like the Friday listen is pretty fun. Otherwise, that's pretty much going to be it for Game Groofs today, or GG Replay, sorry, today. Do you have anything else to say, Matt, before we head out?
No, I'm off to go fight with Redditors about Black Myth Wukong.
Oh man, you are in for quite a fight, I think. But also, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who are on the same page as you. I'm off to go watch Disney's Jungle Cruise. Pretty excited to see. Yeah, I am. I'm going to go watch The Rock and Emily Blunt, like from 3 years ago, do a movie about Disney, my favorite Disney ride. Second favorite.
Oh, wow.
To the Carousel of Progress. Second favorite. Carousel of Progress is my favorite, but I do love the Jungle Cruise. So yeah,
enjoy it.
Hopefully that's good. I don't know. I'm holding my breath. It's a Jumanji scenario, which was very good. All right, that's going to be it for GG Replay today for Monday, August 23rd, 2021. Until Wednesday and our live stream event. Good night, Groofs.